How would you use words to describe these operations? We know that all of these are called expressions because they don't use an equal sign. But if I asked you to use words to describe them, what words would you use? So 2 times x, 2 multiplied by x. What kind of an answer do we get through multiplication?
Dividing is like
Right. So if I know that the answer to a multiplication problem is called a product, how can you use the word product to describe that first situation? That's exactly right. The product of 2 and x. That is another way of writing the words. What would you use, what words could you use to describe this here that you see right here?
The quotient of x and 2.
Nice. The quotient of x and 2. X divided by 2. What else can you think of when you divide something by 2? What do you do to it?
Split in half.
That's right. So how could you explain this in terms of the word half, like you said?
Why no, we can't.
X equals 1.
So the other way would be half of x. Now let's go into the next ones. The next ones, order really matters. So let's look at this one here. How would you describe the difference between 2 minus x and x minus 2? 2 minus x, 2 subtracted by x, because you are subtracting x from 2. The bottom one is x minus 2 if you're just talking straightforward. But you would say 2 subtracted from x. Look at the difference between the two. The first one says 2 subtracted by x. The second one says 2 subtracted from x, because you're taking 2 away from x. 2 less than x is the bottom one, because you have x and you're 2 less than it. If you're 2 less than something, it means you subtracted 2 from it. While the other one is actually x less than 2. It's really important that you understand that when you see the words less than and I am describing subtraction,
Negative.
if you see the words less than and I am describing subtraction, it means you are taking it away from something. Imagine, if you would, that I said to you, I have 5 less brownies than you do. That means that what I have, if I have 5 less than you and you have x, that means I have whatever you have minus 5.
Yeah, so negative.
The biggest confusion is that most people think 5 less than x means 5 minus x, when in reality it's not.
X means 5.
If I say 5 less than something, it means that I'm taking that something and I'm subtracting 5 from it. So less than is a tricker, because it's written backwards. Okay, let's look at the next ones. How would you describe x plus 2 using mathematical words?
Something to do with the sum.
Yes, it is something to do with the sum. The sum of what 2 numbers?
X and 2.
X and 2, yes, or 2 and x. In this case, order doesn't matter because addition is what we call commutative, which means you can move it around. 4 plus 5 and 5 plus 4 means the same thing. This is the sum of x and 2. 2 more than x, as in you added 2 to x. Simply stated, x plus 2. Now, what creates an additional confusion or step for this one here? The parentheses. How can you use words to describe what's going on here? If I had to make sure that my words properly stated the order of operations that has to be followed. So with this one, you recognized that the first thing that we have to make sure is being done is that you're adding x and 3. Because order of operations says whatever x is equal to, you have to add x plus 3 first, because it's in the parentheses. And then you multiply it by 2. So the only way to purposefully use words that describe what to do with order of operations without saying you first have to add x and 3 and writing step by step is making sure that you group things properly. So one of the ways that you could say this is exactly like Adina said, 2 times the sum of x and 3.
You have to distribute it.
You do have to distribute if you were simplifying it. But if I was going to translate this into words, that's what I would be doing. Because what we're going to be doing,
2 times the sum of x and 3.
because you're multiplying 2 times whatever x plus 3 is. So it's 2 times the sum. Really fancy. The product of, which means you're going to multiply 2 items, right? The product of 2 and the sum of x and 3. That means you're multiplying 2 by whatever x plus 3 is. Okay, so now let's see what it is that we're going to be applying. What are the applications of this? So, what you're going to be doing is going to be writing algebraic expressions using the words that they give you in English and translating them into math. So these are some of the words that we have to make sure that we remember their meaning. The word addition is going to be explained by using the words sum, add, combine, increase, larger. So if you look at these examples, the sum of 4 and 5, that's 4 plus 5. Combine 6 and 10, you're adding. 3 more than 7 means you're adding 3 to 7. Increase by 8. Similarly with subtraction. Difference, subtract, minus, fewer, less, take away, decrease. So if you look at these are the ones that I notice are the ones that create a little bit more confusion, because you immediately want to just go in the order that they tell you. But in this case, remember, if I subtract 7 from a number, that's going to give me a different value than if I subtract the number from 7. So when you hear subtract 2 from 9, for example, it means you're taking 2 away from 9. It's 9 minus 2. 2 less than a number is x minus 2. Decrease by 4 means you have that number you're discussing and you're taking 4 away. Fewer than, 1 fewer than 6 is telling you that you're taking 1 away from 6. Multiplication, these are some words. Product, per, 20 per week means 20 times the number of weeks. Twice means 2 times. Division, divide, quotient, half, third, fourth, split. Split in 2 was the other one that we could have discussed. X divided by 2 is really x split in 2. A third of 12 is 12 divided by 3. Your job is going to be to translate the English words into an equation and then solving it.
26.
The problem that we're going to come up with is that we're going to see all these words and we're going to immediately want to translate them to math and math symbols. But when we see the words, we get confused, and so our brain actually puts up like a little wall that prevents us from thinking rationally. So you read it first, you picture it in your head, and then you try to translate it. 26 more than the product of a number and 17 is 42, negative 42.
Oh, so it's 26 plus x plus 7.
26 more than the product. So I am adding 26 to some product. Product means multiplication. So it's something multiplied by something, and I'm adding 26 to it.
I got confused with the x's.
And then it says the product of a number and 17. So 17 times x is the product of a number and 17. I'm adding 26 to it, and that is negative 42.
I thought you.
You could have also said 26 being added to the product of a number, let's say the numbers n, and 17 is negative 42. So in the previous slides, what we were doing is translating expressions from English to algebra. Now we're applying that algebraic expressions part into equations. So when you see the word is, it means equals. How would I solve this one?
How do we solve it?
Yes.
Oh, so we get the 26 to the right.
Correct. Minus the 26. You get 17n is equal to, what's negative 42 minus 26?
68, negative 68.
Negative 68. And then we divide by 17.
4 or 5.
N is equal to negative 4. So, 2 parts. Bless you. Part 1, translate words into an equation. Part 2 is to actually solve. Now you guys try. There's lots of words. We're in math. Translate it into an equation and then solve. But tell yourself a story first. In one season, Buddy ran 18 races. Okay, so we know Buddy ran 18. What is this referring to?
18.
Yeah, this is referring to the number of races that Buddy ran. This was 4 fewer than twice the number of races that Kelly ran. So, we have 2 different people, Buddy and Kelly. Buddy ran 18 races,
So
correct?
32, right?
Let's write the equation first. Buddy ran 18 races. This 18, the 18 is equal to 4 fewer than twice Kelly's. 4 fewer. 4 fewer than twice Kelly. How would I write twice Kelly as an expression?
Exponent.
Twice Kelly's races. Let's say K is for Kelly. If I say twice K, you multiply by 2. So if it's 4 fewer than twice Kelly, and I know twice the amount that Kelly ran is 2K, how can I write 4 fewer than 2K?
18 minus 4.
How would I write 4 fewer than 2K?
18 minus 4 times 2.
4 fewer than 2K means you have 2K and you're subtracting 4 from it. So let's go back to the words. In this season, we know Buddy ran 18. This 18 was 4 fewer than twice Kelly's. You had to define the variable that K is for Kelly. We know that 18 is the amount that Buddy ran and that those 18 are 4 fewer than Kelly. and twice Kelly's. 4 fewer than twice Kelly's. 18 is 4 fewer than twice Kelly's. Fewer than is also a trigger. Fewer than, less than, it means you're taking them away from it. Your job was to make sure you knew that if it's 4 fewer than twice Kelly's, twice Kelly minus 4 is what he ran, which equaled the 18. And then we just solve like normal. Add 4 to both sides. 22 is equal to 2K. Divide by 2. And we get that he ran 11. Because 11, the 18 that he ran, was 4 less than twice Kelly's. That means Kelly must have run 11, because twice that is 22. 4 less than that is the 18 that Buddy ran. The Miami Dolphins scored 7 fewer points than twice the points scored by the Steelers. The Dolphins scored a total of 33 points.
7 minus.
What is the equation? Let's see this one. First of all, we know the Miami Dolphins, we know they scored 7 fewer than twice the Steelers. Let's say P is for Pittsburgh Steelers, okay?
So it'd be 7 minus P.
They scored 7 fewer than twice the Steelers.
So whatever the,
Seven
whatever the
minus
Steelers scored,
56.
it's double that.
Whatever the Steelers, yeah, that means it's 2 times P,
Minus 7.
twice the points that the Steelers scored is 2 times P, right? 7 fewer than that means you take 7 away from it, right?
56, so we could find out how
The-
much they scored.
The equation is 7 fewer than twice Pittsburgh means you took 7 away from whatever 2P is. And that's the amount that they scored. But what was the total amount that they scored?
56.
33.
33.
Last time up Pittsburgh, I think. Scored.
So, twice the number of P, twice the amount that Pittsburgh scored, minus 7 is 33, because 7 fewer than twice Pittsburgh was the 33 that they scored. And then you just solve like normal. You know that twice the Pittsburgh was 40. That means Pittsburgh actually scored 20 points, because Miami Dolphins scored 7 less than double the score. So if Pittsburgh scored 20, that means double that is 40. 7 fewer than that is 33, which is the amount the Dolphins actually scored.
No, but wouldn't be 30.
Yep. Your math space F 3.3 is what it's called.